props always go downwards, but sometimes we need to pass data up for some reason. And that is because of this, this separation, class components, functional components. Class maintain data, functional components display it. Well, let's say we had a method that says, say hi. And you know what, we won't need anything state-wise right now, so we don't need that. We'll just focus on methods. And each person has the ability to say hello in their own language. They would like the ability to say it, so they're going to be given the doing word. They're going to be given the method. So we'll call this the say hi method. I'll rename it up there. And person is going to receive both props. So they'll have a props.sayHi and the props.sayHi method. What the sayHi method should do is it should receive the phrase, whichever language it's in, so either hello, bonjour, or hola, and it should alert it. My question is, if props are being passed down, person has a props dot. And sorry, I'm going to rename this again because this is getting confusing. They each have their own phrase and a method. They're going to send their phrase up and alert it. But if the phrase is only accessible down here, how do I call this method and give it the phrase, essentially passing the phrase back up to the app component so it can alert it? Right, this method should be able to be used on any person, but it should alert their specific word. So each person will have a button. And the onClick will call that method, the props.sayHi method. Right, that's this one right here. So if we're thinking regular JavaScript, how do I call a function and feed it an argument so it receives it as a parameter and can use it? If I were to call this right here, how would I send props.phrase into this function? I think I heard the right answer. What did you say? Yeah, I'd have to say when this method is called, pass in the props.phrase so that each person receives their own phrase and says it. But what just happened? I didn't click any buttons. What does parentheses say to a function? Call it now. Don't wait for my onClick. Call it now. I don't want that. I want this to wait till my onClick. But this is working. So let's watch the data. The person is being passed their phrase and the method. They are calling the method with their own phrase. The phrase is coming back up because of how functions work as the parameter of that method, and then it's using it. So all three of these people can call this method but pass in their own parameter. It's still JavaScript function, so it still works that way. And this is the only way to pass data up in React as a function parameter. So is there any questions on that before we fix it and make it not happen as soon as the page loads? Okay, so I'm calling this method, but with the parentheses, it's called immediately. So how do I pass arguments without having it called immediately? Well, I give it a different function to call first. I say, when I click, you're going to call this anonymous function here. And what this anonymous function is immediately returning is this function. And just by adding that parentheses fat arrow, you're saying wait for my click and allowing you to pass arguments up to your method to receive it as a parameter. But this is essential. If you're passing arguments through a class method and you need to wait for the click to occur, you want to call this function and have this function call the one and pass the argument. So this is great because now it's waiting. I can say hello. This says hello. Say bonjour, hola. I could make this look a little nicer. Instead of saying say hello, I'll say props.phrase so the buttons show up differently. Say hello, say bonjour, say hola, and now they're all doing their own thing. It's still just a singular component, but because I can pass an argument to a method and receive it, I only had to write this once.
I don't understand how that's passing it up.
Yeah, I get that. It may seem elementary on this, but elementary is where it all comes from, so let's do it. Let's think regular JavaScript, because that's what React is. So if I had a function, our favorite function, and if I wanted to call this function and fill in what A and B should be, I would say sum 20 and 30. That's exactly what we're doing in React right now. It's just happening on two separate files. We're passing this function down to another file. That file is calling it and sending in the information so where the function was declared can receive it and use it. So we're declaring the function here and telling it to expect a phrase, and then we're passing that method down to to the person component. The person component's calling it and sending in the argument, their phrase, which was also passed as props, but this sends it up as an argument back to app because that's just how functions work. It receives it and can alert it. But this is what's happening. It just looks a lot different because of the syntax. So I'll break this into parts, I'll add notes to it, and I am putting this recording up. It is a short topic, but it's whenever you need to pass data up, you have to do it this way. Or simulate something similar to this, where you say, call this anonymous function, which then will call my function. Because without this, what would happen? It gets called immediately. Cool. And that's finally all.